So, this is my third part and final part of my overly long guide video to Trial of the Sword. The final trials, and in my opinion, the Trial of the Sword's final chapter is substantially easier in comparison to the first and maybe even second chapter, because it was designed in such a way to be very intimidating, but the game gives you all the necessary tools for the job. So the very first floor that we go into is filled with Stal bokoblins. Now, as you see, it's lightning everywhere. You have to be very careful when you're around those puddles, since they also conduct lightning. It doesn't happen as often, but it does happen. But there are rusty weapons lining the floor that will also attract lightning. And if you want, you can pick them up and then save them for a later date, but only do that if you have the room in your inventory for it. Second floor, again, the same thing. They use the lightning mechanics in an attempt to scare you off and really try to kill you. It happened to me twice, actually, where I would get hit by a lightning bolt. Even if I were to get hit by the splash damages, so not a direct hit from the lightning bolt, but just, have the lightning explosion hit me, it would still leave me with about a quarter of my heart. So that's 2 hearts and 3/4, and it's just really, really deadly, something you don't want to deal with. And finally, yeah, you go inside of this little cave area, you fight against the Stalfos. The thing about bokoblin enemies is that they actually all can be one-hit killed by your arrows if you want, but what I like to do is just blow them all up with one variety of remote bomb, and then follow it up to destroy their heads, killing them for good with the second variety. So as you see over here, for whatever reason, the head roll ended up getting caught on the mouth of the skull. And it does feel, admittedly, it does feel a little bit unfair when these skulls kind of just roll away from you, so it can go straight to a body, and it's almost impossible to catch, and you gotta blow them up all over again. But thankfully, bomb consumption is absolutely free. You just have to wait for the cooldown. Underground floor number 3. Now this part is pretty fun. Actually, I think this is where my first death was. The first time I tried this, I did not want to deal with trying to bomb these guys. I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take out these electric choo-choo from very far away. So yeah, again, if you miss your arrows, don't worry, pick them right back up with the bow that you got on the first floor. All the the chests, they provide you with well, this one's going to provide you with a night shield. Those 2 barrels will provide you with arrows, and we will look at that magnesis one later. As soon as you get to the top of this little structure, then these Stal moblins will go after you. And as you can see over here, I'm just just staying calm, waiting for them to get in range of my bomb throws, and then hitting them like that. And see, I'm trying to get from here, but they are quite far away. And you saw over there, I almost got hit by a lightning bolt. I was surprised that that didn't hit me. But anyways, the square remote bombs, they don't go the far distance since they don't roll. So what I ended up doing is that I resorted to just blowing them up with the round spherical bombs, and then jumping in after them, as you see me doing over here. If you take too long, eventually they're just going to go back to the spot where they were resting, but you can kind of see their bones lying down, so you don't have to worry about losing track of them. As you see me doing over here, I'm just waiting for them, and I decided, you know what, forget it. I'm going to go and deal with it the old-fashioned way. I decided to save the arrow for all the good that does. The nice thing about this particular floor, really, is the fact that, again, the game actually gives you a very large variety of tools to work with, and you'll see me employing that very heavily for the duration of this video. The final trials are about 24 floors in length, so it is the longest, but it's by no means the most challenging, in my opinion anyway. I might change my mind when I actually decide to tackle this in Master Mode. And then we finally get the Knight's Bow, a clear upgrade to the one that we have, but we can't use it yet because it's metal, therefore it attracts lightning. Now, as soon as you get into this part, you fight against the skeletal horses, or as someone on the Discord channel likes to call them, the Cavalry. The fun thing about the Cavalry, you're able to mount them yourself. This is a very big floor, and the thing is, though, since you're on a horse, I'd find that the safest way of dealing with these guys, short of bombing them, or if you're unable to bomb them, is to just jump off your horse, go bullet time. One of these archers also uses shock arrows, so just be very, very careful with that. If you get hit by the shock arrow and you don't have enough hearts, you're going to die in one hit. So yeah, just be very, very, very careful with that. And yeah, just like that, there's not really much of note, I believe. I think I go through a couple of crates and find some more arrows and some like normal fruit. So, floor number 5, fight against the Stalnox. Stalnox, again, it's the exact same strategy as before, but this time you get an entire room to work with. So, yeah, just stasis him, shoot him in the eye, make him fall down, and then wait. Just wait a little bit. Yeah, it's the exact same as with the Hinox, just repeat this process over and over and over again, kind of give you that classic Zelda feel. Unfortunately, you won't be able to access his weapons until after you kill him, since they're actually lodged inside of the skeleton. Once you get him to low enough health, you'll actually knock out his eye. The eye is super durable, like, it has a lot of health. I'm just wailing away on him. I spend a lot of time trying to beat it, but the best thing I can say is just get between the eye and the body and try to cut off his passage when he tries to return back. Wait for him to fix his eye back on, stasis him, hit him in the eye, and then repeat the process again. It should only take you 2 tries considering what weapons are available to you at this time. So yeah, it takes about 2 attempts. And the thing is, though, this is a very important encounter, though. Like, remember when I said that the game gives you the tools necessary to beat this challenge? This is what I'm talking about. So as soon as you beat the boss, you get access to 3 elemental weapons, which are basically required, in my opinion. So you get the the Great Frostblade, the Flame Spear, and the Thunderblade. Thunderblade not as required, and I kind of do forget to use them, but the the Flame Spear is extremely important for a future encounter, as well as the Frostblade. And finally, there is a metal chest. Just be very careful. If you see it sparking up, then stay away from it, but you get the ice arrows, which is also essential for what we're going to be encountering in the future. So now you're at the first break room, get yourself your fairy, and you get 3 treasure chests containing Flamebreaker boots, which is a huge hint to where you're going next, and the Knight's Bow, again, very, very good for, again, where we're going, and Ancient Arrows. Now, Ancient Arrows are the focal point of our success in completing Trial of the Sword, and there are a total of 9, I believe, available in the entire, in this entire area, so yeah, we're actually going to be taking those 9, but theoretically speaking, you'll only need 5 or 6, and you can easily get those, but, you know, it's always nice to have as many available so that you have, you know, you're able to relax a little bit more. There's also quite a few good ingredients that you can use here. I recommend saving the Mighty Bananas so that you can get yourself a good upgrade for the like the 3rd tier of this area. But anyways, go to the next area and you're in the flaming area. So yeah, you're greeted by a choo-choo and there is an Oxrock in the distance. If you decided to take the rusted weapons from the first floor, then we're going to be converting those into actual weapons. There are 2 fire pebblets that you can deal with here. Again, they're all one-hit kills and not, you know, difficult. You just need to identify them. Wait for him to spit. The closer you get, the less time he uses to fire. As you can see over there, he fires it really, really quickly. Once he cowers away, then just drop all of your weapons. Take out the Knight Shields that you got from the room with all the skeleton, the Stalmoblins. Take out that Knight Shield and block the attacks, because when he spits those weapons back out at you, there's a good chance it's going to land in the lava, and you can't recover it anymore because it's too deep. You can't even use Magnesis to recover them. So as you can see over here, I actually get lucky. I get one of my favorite weapons. I get the Knight's Claymore as a reward for doing this. The thing is, though, is that don't worry if you don't get any good weapons from it, because it's entirely random. Don't worry about getting good weapons, because I actually never used it. I was so excited, but I ended up becoming really, really stingy and I never used it. But anyways, if you want to, yeah, as soon as you beat this guy, wait for him to start sucking in some air, use a remote bomb, and voila. But yeah, like, I actually never used the Knight's Claymore, so don't worry about not getting it, because you have more than enough. Again, like, you have all the equipment that is necessary for beating it, and the game just gives it to you. There are 3 Fireless Stalfos in here. I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to use 3 ice arrows, because that is, like, this is durability on my bow that I don't want to consume. And you get the Strengthened Stalfos. It's only slightly weaker than the Knight's Bow, and it's metal, so it can last and it won't get set on fire when you're using it in these areas. So you can see over here, just make use of the updrafts, get your bullet time. The same rule always applies when it comes to Trial of the Sword. Always, always, always try to get that 1v1 as best as you can, and you're going to see me employing that almost always, actually, as many opportunities as I get. So, start off this room. Immediately on your left, there's going to be a Meteor Wizrobe, and it drops the Meteor Rod. This is the most, or one of the most important tools for the success of this run. And just make sure you get that. Like, always, always make sure that you get it. It's very, very important. So as you can see here, I aggroed one of the Stalfos to go after me. The Moblin got wise to it, but he decided to go back in and leave this guy alone to die. Remember what I was saying earlier? Try to get that 1v1. Very, very important. I'm just going through all my weapons to see what I can do. Because here's the thing. When you have a 1v1, you can get away with using basically any weapon. Like, you can go through all your weak weapons first and just continuously stack damage. Since you have stasis, you can easily run away from your enemies. And for these ones over here, I couldn't do that, unfortunately, so I ended up running to the right side, which is slightly more elevated, and I'm able to just get my bullet time shots in. So this is pretty cool. I was able to get double headshots with a single shot, which is awesome. But yeah, I was able to finish off the Moblin relatively quickly. Since I'm using a regular bow in a fire area, I can actually get free fire arrows as a result of that, which is pretty nice. Otherwise, yeah, all wooden weapons, they will get set on fire. Usually that would mean extra damage, and like, you know, give them a stun, but most of these enemies are fireproof, so yeah, you won't be able to get any bonuses like that. Inside of the skull, you're going to find mainly just arrows and roasted food. So, floor number 10, this is a pretty important floor as well, because there are ancient arrows available here. Again, I believe this was a fireless Stalfos, and he has an ice arrow. No, I didn't. No, I just headshotted him to death. The thing about Stalfos is that since they are able to swim, knocking them into lava won't do you any good. Now, this part, again, we're employing the same philosophy of doing your 1v1s. This guy over here had the arrow, so I had to take him out first. So yeah, as you see over here, floating up to him, getting as many consecutive headshots as I could, while still maintaining my stamina, then using stasis to hit him. Now, the thing about stasis, something that you need to remember is that whenever someone is caught in stasis and it's going to go out really, really quickly, and you don't think you can get there in time, just hit him with the arrow, since you will get that stagger animation anyway, and that is what is the main advantage. It gives you more time. What I want to do here is I want to knock this guy off, and I think I do. I want to knock this guy off. He has a Royal Guard's Halberd, which is a very powerful weapon, but the durability is quite low. And despite that, when I actually completed Trial of the Sword for the first time, I did kill him, and I took the Royal Guard's Halberd, but I actually ended up never using it. But if you guys want it, then yeah, you definitely can get it, but I thought to myself, you know what, we're going to knock this guy into the lava, because this guy can't survive in the lava. Which is nice. I thought I failed to, but then as you see over here, as soon as I unpause, he just kind of backflips off. It's pretty crazy. This guy, the third, I believe it's the final Moblin of this stage as well, comes at me. He has a royal, sorry, not a royal claymore, a knight's claymore. So I use a shock arrow to get him to drop it, you know, if I can actually hit him. I make him drop it, and I get that knight's claymore. For those of you guys that are wondering, a very easy way of dealing with your Moblins is to get a two-handed weapon and then use the charge attack and continuously spin towards their right. They'll continue trying to log onto you as you're spinning, and if they are carrying a weapon already and they're trying to hit you, there's a good chance that since you're so close, it'll just go right over you, and if they're unarmed, they actually just can't hit you as long as you maintain staying their left, your right. So yeah. That pretty much does it for these guys. This guy's really tenacious, though. He didn't even have the decency to stay in the lava. I decided, yeah, I was going to hit him with one shock arrow and then finish him off with 2 more arrows, and that will be the room. Now, an important treasure chest to find here is actually very close to where I am right now, as you can see over here. Use magnesis to identify it, the little pink glowy thingy, and yeah, you just pick it up carefully so that you don't actually fall into the lava and kill yourself. And you finally get to open a chest, which gives you 3 ancient arrows. So now we're up to 6. Technically, you only need like 5 in my... Well, maybe you can go for a little bit more. So more is better, but realistically speaking, you would only need like 5 or 6 to actually beat Trial of the Sword. In my opinion, you don't even need 1, to be honest. Maybe you can just get good like everybody else, you know? So anyways, here's the Igno Talus. Earlier in another video, I said that the elemental Talus are far easier, and it's because you can easily get them to stagger. Something to note with the Igno Talus is that don't use a wooden weapon on an Igno Talus because the environments will set the weapon on fire and it'll reignite the rock and it'll send you off. The thing about Igno Talus that makes them so easy as well is that as long as you're wearing flameproof gear, well, like it'll still damage you, but you have to wait. So it actually has nothing to do with your gear. It's just that you have to, like, it has to take some time to get close. With the Ice Talus, you can just, like, it'll actually do damage to you the moment you get too close. I screwed up a little bit. I fell off. I didn't time it properly, but again, it doesn't take that long. Very, very easily beats, in my opinion, because you just needed the one hit from the Frostblade, or an Ice Arrow if you still have that lying around as well. Now, I believe there was nothing inside of that box, so that's why I didn't show anything in that one. And we're at our second break room. But now, the nature of Trial of the Sword is that they give you the fairies, but you're only allowed to have 3. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You get 3 lives, and that is more than enough. So yeah, you get yourself a Royal Guard Shield, a Stone Smasher, and a Hylian Tunic, which we equip immediately. There's a lot of spicy peppers in this area, so that's another big hint as to where we're going. You need 1 level of cold resistance, which is exactly what we do. We actually, there's a cooking pot that you can use, and a bunch of spicy peppers and Sizzlefin Trouts, which is going to give you a level 2 cold resistance buff, so that's going to be nice. 2 Icy Pebblets and a Choo Choo, nothing we're not used to. And again, yeah, prioritize, headshot both of these guys, and then take out the Black Bow Goblin while he's by himself. Easily done. We have a Steel Lazalbo that you got in the room where you get the second chest of Ancient Arrows. So yeah, that's the strongest bow that you're going to be getting for now. I believe it doesn't even break, actually. I don't know, like, I think I was pretty good for it, but this is funny though. This was like the part of the stream where I completely forgot how to aim, which was like the entire stream, just so you guys know. But yeah, again, you don't need to have the perfect aim to win. Just focus on getting those headshots, you know, stay calm, get those headshots. And if you're fighting them 1v1, it's a lot easier to stay calm anyway. So, floor 14, very important room. Yeah, big shout outs to the guys that were on the chat that were telling me that there are Ancient Arrows on this one. So we actually can have a total of 9 Ancient Arrows, 9 one-shot weapons, which is insane. So yeah, shoutouts to Mikhail Casellas, Mew Lover, and Barry Quartz, actually. Also Game Painter for reminding me that they existed as well. But yes, thank you guys very, very much. It was very helpful for the run. Again, business as usual, using stasis and using arrows. This was a nice action shot. He jumped at me, but I jumped back and then did a slow-mo bullet time shot. And the final enemy is the Silver Moblin. Now again, you could do what I said earlier, just continuously spin to the side, but I was really antsy seeing those explosive barrels on the stage, so I decided, you know what, we're just going to focus on getting as many headshots as we can on this guy. If this was Master Mode, then yeah, I would be forced to do my usual method, since this would cause him to regenerate all of his HP. But yeah, this Moblin over here, eventually I do just man up and start fighting him on there, but I didn't use a two-handed weapon, because again, I didn't want to risk sending a weapon flying straight into that explosive keg. And yeah, just work away at him. You have more than enough weapons. Like, I was being way stingier than I needed to be. But again, like, you know, if you want to be careful, you can be careful, but don't be afraid of accidentally using one weapon and no longer having it mint condition, because it's better to use it if you can. I used really, really weak weapons for this run, actually. Could have saved a lot of time, in my opinion. So yeah, that does it for the room. You get an awesome club that's going to do some great damage for the next boss of this area. As well, yeah, just to give you some context, I've drawn out this clip a little bit more to show you guys where the chest containing the Ancient Arrows are. You have to melt it. Thankfully, melting is quite easy. I was told that, yeah, of course you could just cut down trees using bombs to create bundles of wood, then igniting those once to save time. But you can just also hold out your flame spear and wait a couple of minutes. Really, really fun moments in the stream where we're just talking, waiting for this ice to melt. But yeah, that gives you 9 arrows. So this part is pretty easy. There is one Blizz robe, as it were, And of course, because of the whole elemental rule, it is immediately a one-shot if you hit him with the opposite element. So I decided to wait for him before using the fire arrow, using bullet time to give myself all the time in the world to aim, and I one-shot. And then I had my sights focused on this guy, decided to aggro him, take out a spear, then stasis him, you know, the whole shebang, waiting for him a little bit for finally going in for some damage. Again, using stasis. Stasis is your friend. Seriously, like, I couldn't have done this without stasis. Maybe it would be more of a challenge run if I didn't use stasis, maybe, but it's so useful not to pass up, and it's relatively cheap, too. What I did is that I just kind of climbed up, gave myself some airtime at the top of that structure, fired some. I don't even know how these were headshots. Getting them between the shoulder blades apparently counts as a headshot. But, yeah. Then there's the camp, 2 blue bokoblins, and a silver. And yeah, you have to be really, really careful when fighting against these silvers, because if you make too many mistakes against a silver, it will consume fairies, especially if it has as low hearts as I do. Yeah, so just take out the 2. Again, the 1v1 rule. If I had more space, I could have just taken out the weapons. That would have put me at a huge advantage. But yeah, nothing that we haven't seen before, really. Just a really, really strong silver bokoblin. If you want, you can just run back up the wall and start headshotting them to death, as you see me doing over here. And yeah, there's some pretty good items that you can get, mainly knight weapons. So there's a knight's broadsword, a knight's halberd, and a knight's bow. But yeah, arrows inside of the crates as usual. So floor number 16, we fight against another Talus. And again, the Frost Talus, Igno Talus, very, very easy in comparison, in my opinion anyway. The thing about these ones though is that if you get in too close, he's going to freeze you. And you have no ice-proof buffs in this Trial of the Sword, so you have to use a single fire arrow, but really one is all you need. As you see over here, I finally succeeded in using the method I've been explaining in these videos that I don't even need to go back down to the ground. So as you see over here, I climb onto him, then I hit him a couple of times, hit him once while he's in stasis, so that yeah, I can time my paraglider, float back down to safety, and then continuing the combo. Really, really easily done. I didn't even have to go back down to the ground. No damage taken whatsoever. It was just a really, really good fight for me. Very proud of myself there. And yeah, that is the Frost Talus down, using only the weapon that the Silver Moblin drops for us. So that's going to be great. Alright, now we're in the final Frosty floor, and it's against a blue Lionel. I decided just to stasis him and finish him off with an Ancient Arrow, since we have so many to begin with. So, yeah, that was kind of a non-issue. Otherwise, you can fight him, but the thing is, though, it's not worth fighting, in my opinion, because, like, the amount of durability that you have to expend to kill him versus the amount of durability that you gain from, like, taking his equipment, it wasn't worth it, in my opinion. But yeah, you get a bunch of royal equipment from here, so that's already sort of like to make up for the fact that you didn't get the Mighty Lionel equipment. You can if you want to, but I'd prefer not to. Anyways, yeah, as you saw earlier, we got those banana buffs. We got those bananas, which is great. There was a chest in here. I didn't have enough room for it, but it's a shield for those of you guys that are into parrying. I explained this in the previous video. I suck at parrying. I am not good at parrying at all, and I didn't want to risk using the parry, so what I decided to do was just expend all the weapons I've gained here. We have more than enough weapons. So the usual strategy for fighting this form of Guardian, as you see here, I actually ate a weapon buff so that I can just go through this a little bit faster, but you can see that this weapon is just super weak, and you see how little damage I'm doing. Main strategy is to hit them with stasis, and then hit them while they're in stasis, so that they sort of lose focus on you. If they do focus on you, hit them in the eye with your arrow, and then that's going to make them lose focus of you again. As you can see over here, I'm kind of just timing when I would be able to get hit by things. If I'm running in like not in the opposite direction, but like if they're hitting me aiming at me from the sides, and then I move forward, that I kind of time my dodges like that. It takes about 5 seconds for it to fire a laser. And here's the thing too that you guys need to know. I actually made a mistake at this part. I was getting him so low to health, and I see him aiming at me. I forgot to switch to standard arrows, so I actually kind of wasted everyone's time there. But, you know, that's just something that you guys need to remember. Don't use ancient arrows unless you really want to. But I'm actually drawing out this clip so I can show you where they start to activate. But basically, if they're aiming at me from the sides, I kind of wait before I start running, using my dash so that I can dodge the laser, because they'll shoot where you were at the time, and you can't really get there fast, and you can't really do it fast enough by not sprinting, so keep that in mind. When it comes to them actually aiming at me, though, it takes about like 5 seconds, and then you can like hide behind something. But the thing is, though, let's just say it was like 4 seconds, and then you hid behind a tree, and then they stopped firing, they stopped aiming at you, and then you go back out again. They actually could just shoot you because they did have it ready, so you kind of have to wait a second or two before actually, before actually having to dodge or avoid or hide. So this is pretty funny. I have 3 guys at once, and I kind of just like doing a combo before alternating sides. But then this is kind of a sweet spot though, so I went for this guy first. Found a sweet spot so that the tree was blocking me on the left, and then this guardian was blocking me from the guy on the right. So that's pretty nice. That's something that you have to remember as well, is that just find those sweet spots for what we're doing here. So as you see, I'm just waiting for him to fire, then I dash forward, and then the laser misses me. Because again, they shoot where you actually are. So I see over here, yeah, that guy shoots me right at the tree, actually, so hiding would have done me no good. And yeah, just working away at them. Again, like, if you're amazing at parrying, then you can do that. But in my opinion, this is a lot safer. It's certainly slower, like, it's definitely slower, but you can't be amazing parriers like I see on YouTube all the time. And when you finish that one, it's just a matter of finding the last guy. Again, really easy to dodge the lasers, especially when there's one of them. And that's what I want to do with this clip, especially, is just sort of show off like where you should position yourself when you're using this melee attack method. So yeah, that's basically what it is. I'm just trying to figure out which weapon I should be using to fight against these guys, and eventually I succeeded. Really fun though. This is a lot of fun. It's a bit of a rush. Fighting Guardians in general is just such an adrenaline rush. I love it, and I cannot wait to see more of it. I'd love to see more variants, actually. So this room, there are horses, but they are considered wild, so you do have to sneak up on them. I decided, you know what, we're going to climb up this tree and fight against this single Guardian Stalker and kill it with an Ancient Arrow. I mean, we have 7 Ancient Arrows. I'm pretty sure no one will mind if we just start expending some more. You can parry them, and in my opinion, they actually are relatively easy to parry, since they consistently distance themselves from you, so you're always at the parrying sweet spot, or at least the timing would be consistent. And here are the Guardian Skywatchers. I despise these guys, oh my goodness. So the thing about Guardian Skywatchers is that you could parry them. The problem is, though, is that they're constantly moving, so that even if you were to somehow get that parry timing down, you'll reflect the laser where they aren't anymore, or it's going to hit them in a part that isn't their eye. So I totally thought it was worth using an Ancient Arrow to get rid of these guys, because they were more trouble than they're worth. I also heard that you could also use your, what's it called? You can just blow up the rotors, I believe, like the propellers, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't know how to do that, first of all. I'll have to look it up or try it myself someday. I didn't want to do that. So, this is where there are 3 Guardian variants. There, like you'll see over here, on the side that I'm on right now, there is the Turret Guardian, all the way on that tower. Then there's the Patrolling Guardian Skywatcher, and there is a Stalker Guardian on my left, over the wall. So I decided I'm going to take out this guy first with the Ancient Arrow. I don't want to deal with this guy ever, and that is the last one you'll ever have to fight ever again. I decided to also kind of climb up on this wall and sort of get the attention of the other Guardian Stalker from the roof, and then lure him here so that the one on the tower wouldn't see me. I was considering using a Guardian Arrow, or an Ancient Arrow, sorry, but I decided, you know what, forget it, we're just gonna do this the old-fashioned way, with fisticuffs and bones. It's great. It kind of got weird though, because then he started sort of flopping all over the place and hitting me. Get a lot of passive damage just for him kind of landing on my face, so that was fun. Happens more often than you think. These guys are so glitchy. I'm not even entirely sure. Like, I wish I could explain why. They just are. But same rules as usual. Like when they're in stasis, just like with the Decayed Guardians. Really, like they'll look at you, but then if you were to hit them in the eye, you wouldn't be like they'll sort of lose focus of you. Or if you hit them while they're in stasis, they'll lose focus on you. But yeah, these guys are pretty good as well. it's harder to hit them when you're not in slow-mo because they're constantly moving. So yeah, I would recommend taking out the legs, or at least having easy access to elevated ground so you can get your bullet time. So yeah, there's your royal bow. You don't need it because, you know, ancient arrows is a one-hit kill no matter what kind of bow you use. I don't even know what the stats are. I rarely use royal bows, but yeah, this is the safe place to go. If you have low stamina, there are little lips or ledges that you can rest on, restore your stamina, and then continuing your way up. The thing about Guardian turrets is that, like, theoretically they're pretty easy to parry. It's just that the distance is just so weird that I decided I wasn't going to. So I just waited for him to start aiming at me, hit him with stasis, and then spun around with Knight's Claymore. Earlier I said that you don't have to worry if you didn't get the Knight's Claymore. It wasn't a setback. This is the one that I got from the Moblin in the room where you get the other chest of Ancient Arrows. So I kind of was working away them. This guy has a lot of health. Eventually kind of just forgot that I was there, which was really convenient for me, so I liked that. These guys have a lot of health. Like, I have a attack up buff and everything, but man, that did not go in my favor. You actually don't need weapons anymore at this point. This is the second last room, and after this, you don't have to worry about weapons, you just have to worry about having bows, and thankfully this room gave us a bow. So here we are, the final challenge. So the first thing you want to do, take out the meteor rod, take out ancient arrows, and aim at the white Lionel as soon as you can. I have the best aim in the world, as you can see over there. It was great, the chat thought it was hilarious. But basically, yeah, you do that, take out the meteor rod, you give yourself plenty of airtime with the updraft. See if you can lure these guys to go towards you. And yeah, like, go up in the air. They all die in one hit because they're all really easy to deal with. Like, that, I think that was the main challenge and why people were so frightened of this, is because it's so intimidating. They have all these big weapons, they're all charging at you with horses, it's crazy. But if you have the meteor rod, and this place is filled with grass, by the way, so again, there's also a guardian turret over there, but thing is though, we're constantly going forward while it's aiming at us from the side, so that's relatively easy to dodge, and it's quite far away, so you do have time to dodge. And of course you can also take cover behind here. So as you can see, kind of making myself some more airtime, and yeah, just picking them off one by one. Again, it's one-hit kills. Like, in master mode, I feel like this room would still be easy, just because, like, yeah, you just have to, then that just means you have to headshot them. It barely missed me there. It barely missed me. That would have been a fairy, but thankfully I didn't have to even consume a fairy, so that's nice. I had 3 fairies under my belt at the time of doing this. So yeah, get yourself the airtime, aim an ancient arrow, and that is going to be it. And that does it, really. Like, I remember when people first saw this room, they were so scared, and they kept messaging me. It's like, oh no, Lee, you can't 3-heart, it's literally impossible. But then I actually beat it on my first try when I used the meteor rod to create an updraft. So that's basically what it is, you guys. That does it for Trial of the Sword. I really liked this DLC, and I cannot wait to try it in Master Mode and get my soul crushed by the sudden spike in difficulty. The thing I like about it is that it gives you the tools necessary, at least for the final trials, it gives you the tools necessary to succeed in beating Trial of the Sword, and I really can't wait to see what Nintendo does in the future for it as well. So anyways, guys, thanks very much for watching the video. I hope this guide was helpful for you, especially those of you guys that were freaking out over like the final floors. It does get intense, I'll say that. It does get intense, but you have the tools for succeeding. Anyways, guys, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.